Again, well, remember the last lesson we looked at what a surd was, and we looked at a little bit how to simplify them. So in this lesson I'm going to look at the sort of questions you would get in the exam and how you would go about solving those. Okay, so the first one here then, 4 divided by the square root of 2. So I'm being asked to divide a rational number, 4, by an irrational number, the square root of 2. Now, generally we do not like irrational numbers, surds, on the bottom line, on the denominator, and we always try to get rid of them. Now, I'm sure you're sitting there thinking, well, I've got a nice calculator nowadays that I can just feed that in and it'll do it for me. Mustn't forget, of course, that in the Core 1 exam you're not allowed a calculator, so you have to develop this skill, I'm afraid. So we'll take the fraction, really, which is what it is, and remind ourselves that I can always alter a fraction without its value changing by multiplying by another fraction where the top lines are equal. And I'm going to choose those lines, top and bottom lines, as the square root of 2. And if we do that, 4 times the square root of 2, we can write like that. And then on the bottom line I've got the square root of 2 times itself, which of course brings me back to 2. 2 cancels, and I'm left with the final answer of 2 root 2. So what have I achieved? Well, I've got rid of the surd on the bottom line, and we've got a phrase for that. We say that we've rationalised the denominator. And that's good practice. We always want to rationalise denominators. Okay, let's, so we tick that, we've done that one. Okay, let's move on to the next one then. 2 plus root 2 squared. What does that square mean? It means multiply by itself. And so I've actually got a couple of brackets. Now these are all ordinary numbers, so they all behave the distributive law. I can multiply them in the normal way. So let's do that. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times root 2 is 2 root 2. Root 2 times 2, well, we certainly wouldn't write that as root 2, 2. We always put the surd part at the end. And then finally, root 2 times root 2 is 2. I can group them together. 4 and 2 is 6. 2 root 2 and 2 root 2 is 4 root 2. And I've done that. That's probably worth a couple of marks in the exam, a question like that. The next one here, similar sort of process, 2 brackets, but if you're really awake, you can see that one of them is a number minus this number, and then in the second bracket I have the same 2 numbers with a plus sign in between. Now I wonder where you've seen that before. I think most A-level students forget this little formula more times than any other formula. It's of course our difference of 2 squares formula. A minus B times A plus B equals A squared minus B squared. So I can look at this then. A is 4, so A squared is 16. A minus B becomes minus there. 4 plus root 3, so B, in the formula, B is root 3. B squared is 3. 16, take away 3, is 13. So we've done that one. And then finally, another fraction, a horrible surd on the bottom line, an irrational number, and I want to rationalise the denominator. Don't forget that phrase, crops up over and over again. So this time, I'll multiply top and bottom lines, not by the same thing, which is what we did here, but I'm going to be a bit clever here, and I'm going to use what I've just done in the previous example, because this was good, wasn't it? Because it managed to get rid of the square root of 3. So I will use that on the bottom line. And so the bottom line becomes 13. And then on the top line, 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times root 3 is 3 root 3. And that's the answer. It's done. But you know what examiners are like. They like to just be a little bit annoying, and sometimes in the question it won't just say work that out, it'll say give your answer in the form. Now, this phrase probably appears more times on exam papers than any other form, and any other form of wording. So it'll say in the form P plus Q root 3. What does this phrase mean, in the form? Well, most of the students that I've taught over the years, the best way for them to remember it is to say, it's got to look like this, okay? If it doesn't look like that, you haven't done your job properly. Well, this doesn't look like this because it's got a bottom line in it. So I need to get rid of that bottom line. So how can I do that? Well, I can use simple rules of fractions again. I can split this up as 12 over 13 plus 3 root 3 over 13. And so I've taken my correct answer. Remember, this isn't wrong, but it's not in the form P plus Q root 3. And this, I'll give myself a bonus here. We'll have a couple of extra marks because I've now answered the question properly. So don't forget that phrase, okay? You'll see it over and over again. That's what it means. It's got to look like that.